Most people believe money problems start in the bank account. In reality, they start in the mind. Long before income is limited, spending is chaotic, or opportunities are missed, a mental framework is already in place, quietly shaping every financial decision. This framework determines what feels possible, what feels risky, and what feels out of reach. Money follows mindset. If you look closely at people who struggle financially over long periods, you will notice a pattern. They do not just lack resources. They think in ways that keep them trapped. They react emotionally to money. They avoid it, fear it, resent it, or obsess over it. These emotional patterns create financial outcomes that repeat regardless of effort. Being broke is rarely about intelligence. It is about conditioning. From an early age, most people are trained to think about money in survival terms. Pay bills, avoid debt, stay safe, do not lose what you have. This mindset is designed to prevent collapse, not create growth. Survival thinking prioritizes certainty, comfort, and short-term relief. Wealth thinking prioritizes value leverage and long-term positioning. Survival thinking keeps you busy. Wealth thinking makes you strategic. When your mind is wired for survival, money feels stressful. Decisions feel urgent. Fear drives choices. You avoid risk even when the upside is high. You trade time for money without questioning the exchange. You focus on expenses instead of opportunities. This is not because you are weak. It is because your nervous system associates money with threat. Threat narrows thinking. When the mind perceives threat, it defaults to habits. This is why many people repeat the same financial mistakes, even after learning better information. Knowledge alone does not override emotional conditioning. The mind must be retrained at the level of belief, identity, and behavior. Another mental trap is scarcity thinking. Scarcity is the belief that there is never enough time, money, or opportunity. Scarcity makes you hoard, avoid, and compete. It creates anxiety around spending and guilt around earning. It pushes people into short-term decisions that sabotage long-term growth. Scarcity thinking feels logical, but produces poor outcomes. People stuck in scarcity focus on how much things cost rather than what they produce. They ask, "Can I afford this?" instead of, "Will this increase my value?" They look for guarantees instead of upside. They wait for certainty before acting and miss opportunities that require courage. Wealth thinking is not reckless. It is expansive. Another mental barrier is emotional spending. Many people use money to regulate emotion. They spend to feel relief status, distraction, or control. This creates temporary comfort and long-term instability. Emotional spending is not a budgeting problem. It is an emotional regulation problem. Money amplifies emotion. Another mindset issue is identity. Many people do not see themselves as someone who makes money easily, strategically, or confidently. They may say they want more money, but their identity says this is not for people like me. Identity always wins. You will not outperform your self-image. People also stay mentally broke by avoiding responsibility. They blame systems, employers, economies, or luck. While these factors matter, externalizing control removes agency. Wealth building requires internal control, even in imperfect systems. Responsibility restores power. Another hidden issue is fear of success. Success brings visibility, pressure, and expectation. For some people, staying financially limited feels safer than risking exposure. This fear operates unconsciously but powerfully. Comfort can be expensive. Most people are also conditioned to believe money is linear. Work more hours, get more money. This keeps them locked into effort-based thinking. Wealth is rarely created through effort alone. It is created through leverage systems and value. Value multiplies effort. Another mental habit is impatience. Many people want immediate financial relief. They chase quick wins, fall for shortcuts, and abandon long-term strategies too early. This cycle keeps them stuck. Wealth rewards patience. People also stay mentally broke by underestimating time. They either think wealth should come quickly or believe it takes forever. Both distort action. Long-term thinking balances urgency with patience. Time is an asset when used intentionally. Another barrier is avoidance of discomfort. Learning new skills, negotiating pricing, investing money, and taking calculated risks all involve discomfort. Avoiding discomfort avoids growth. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. Mental poverty also shows up in how people talk about money. Language reflects belief. Statements like "money is hard to make, rich people are greedy," or "I am bad with money" reinforce limitation. Language programs the mind. What you repeat, you reinforce. Another trap is focusing on income instead of value. Income is an outcome. Value is the driver. People who chase income often plateau. People who build value grow. Value attracts money. People also stay stuck by not separating emotion from numbers. Numbers feel personal. Income feels like worth. Expenses feel like failure. This emotional fusion leads to poor decisions. Numbers are data, not identity. Another issue is lack of financial boundaries. Saying yes to every request, underpricing work, or avoiding difficult conversations drains earning potential. Boundaries protect value. Boundaries create respect. Most people also lack a long-term financial vision. Without vision, decisions are reactive. You spend, earn, and save without direction. Vision aligns effort and focus. Direction multiplies results. Training your mind to make more money begins with awareness. You must see how your beliefs, emotional responses, and identity shape financial outcomes. Until the mental framework changes, external changes will not last. Money flows toward clarity, confidence, and value. This book is not about tricks, shortcuts, or hype. It is about rewiring the way you think about money, effort, risk, and worth. When the mind changes, behavior follows. When behavior changes, results compound. You do not chase money. You build the mind that attracts it. In the next part, you will learn the psychology of wealth versus the psychology of survival, and how these two mental frameworks produce completely different financial lives, even with the same starting point. This is where the real shift begins. Two people can earn the same income, live in the same environment, and have access to the same opportunities, yet end up with completely different financial lives. The difference is not luck, intelligence, or effort. It is psychology. Specifically, the difference between a survival-based money mindset and a wealth-based money mindset. Survival psychology is designed to keep you safe. Wealth psychology is designed to help you grow. Survival thinking is rooted in fear and protection. It asks, how do I avoid loss? How do I stay afloat? How do I reduce risk? Wealth thinking is rooted in expansion and creation. It asks, how do I increase value? How do I position myself? How do I leverage time, energy, and skill? Neither mindset is inherently wrong. Survival thinking is necessary in moments of crisis. The problem is when survival thinking becomes permanent. Many people live their entire financial lives in survival mode, even when danger is no longer present. When the mind stays in survival mode, money always feels tight, even when income increases. Survival psychology is reactive. Decisions are made based on immediate pressure. Bills, deadlines, emergencies, and emotional stress dominate attention. The future feels abstract. Long-term planning feels unrealistic. This leads to short-term choices that sacrifice growth for relief. Relief becomes the goal instead of progress. Wealth psychology is proactive. Decisions are made based on positioning rather than pressure. Wealth-minded people think ahead. They tolerate temporary discomfort to create long-term stability. They do not panic at short-term fluctuations because their identity is not tied to immediate outcomes. Stability comes from strategy, not certainty. One of the biggest differences between these mindsets is how they relate to risk. Survival psychology avoids risk whenever possible. Risk feels dangerous because loss feels catastrophic. Wealth psychology evaluates risk. It distinguishes between reckless risk and calculated risk. Avoiding all risk is itself a risk. People in survival mode often overestimate downside and underestimate upside. This keeps them stuck in safe but limited situations. Wealth-minded individuals understand that growth requires stepping into uncertainty with preparation, not fear. Another major difference is time perspective. Survival thinking is short-term. It focuses on this month, this bill, this problem. Wealth thinking is long-term. It considers years, not days. This allows different decisions around education, investing, and skill building. Short-term thinking keeps you busy. Long-term thinking builds leverage. Survival psychology also treats money emotionally. Money becomes tied to self-worth, safety, and stress. Financial decisions trigger anxiety or avoidance. Wealth psychology treats money as a tool. Numbers are data, not identity. Detachment improves decision-making. Another difference is how effort is viewed. Survival thinking believes more effort equals more money. Work harder, work longer, push more. Wealth thinking asks where effort produces the highest return. It values efficiency, leverage, and scalability. Effort without leverage has limits. This is why wealth-oriented people focus on skills, systems, and positioning, rather than just working harder. They ask, how can this work without me always being present? Survival psychology also struggles with delayed gratification. When money feels scarce, spending brings temporary relief. Saving, investing, or reinvesting feels like deprivation. Wealth psychology embraces delay. It understands that postponing pleasure builds freedom. Freedom is purchased with patience. Another key distinction is learning orientation. Survival-minded people avoid learning that feels risky or unfamiliar because failure feels threatening. Wealth-minded people see learning as an investment. Mistakes are feedback, not identity threats. Learning multiplies earning. Survival psychology often seeks permission. People wait for approval, promotion, or validation before acting. Wealth psychology takes initiative. It creates opportunities rather than waiting for them. Initiative separates earners from builders. Another difference is focus. Survival thinking focuses on expenses. Wealth thinking focuses on income streams and value creation. One tries to reduce loss, the other tries to expand gain. Expansion solves problems, reduction cannot. Survival psychology also limits self-image. People see themselves as workers, consumers, or employees only. Wealth psychology expands identity. People see themselves as creators, problem solvers, and value providers. Identity sets ceilings. Another key difference is response to failure. Survival-minded people see failure as proof they should stop. Wealth-minded people see failure as part of the process. They expect setbacks and build resilience. Resilience protects momentum. Survival psychology is also heavily influenced by social comparison. People worry about looking successful or keeping up. Wealth psychology is inwardly driven. Progress is measured against goals, not peers. Comparison drains focus. Another major distinction is emotional regulation. Survival mindset is emotionally reactive. Stress dictates behavior. Wealth mindset prioritizes emotional control because calm thinking produces better financial decisions. Emotion costs money. Wealth psychology also understands opportunity cost. Saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. Time, energy, and attention are treated as assets. Survival psychology says yes to everything out of fear. Discernment increases value. Another difference is belief about money itself. Survival thinking often carries moral conflict around money. Wealth thinking separates money from morality. Money is neutral. It amplifies who you already are. Neutral tools require neutral thinking. Survival psychology also avoids visibility. People fear being seen, judged, or criticized. Wealth psychology understands that value creation often requires visibility, communication, and confidence. Visibility creates opportunity. Another critical difference is consistency. Survival mindset is inconsistent because behavior changes with emotion. Wealth mindset relies on systems, habits, and routines that function regardless of mood. Systems outperform feelings. Survival psychology also focuses on certainty. People wait until things feel safe before acting. Wealth psychology accepts uncertainty as part of growth. Action happens before certainty, not after. Certainty follows action. Another difference is how setbacks are interpreted. Survival thinking personalizes them. Wealth thinking contextualizes them. This prevents emotional collapse. Context restores clarity. Most importantly, wealth psychology believes in abundance, not fantasy, but possibility. It believes there is room to grow, learn, and improve. Survival psychology believes resources are fixed and competition is zero-sum. Belief shapes behavior. Training your mind to make more money requires shifting from survival-based thinking to wealth-based. Thinking gradually, intentionally, and consistently. This shift does not happen overnight because survival patterns are deeply ingrained. But every decision made from awareness weakens the old pattern. You begin asking different questions. You tolerate discomfort longer. You invest before you feel ready. You focus on value over relief. You think in years, not weeks. This psychological shift is the foundation of all financial growth. In the next part, you will learn how to reprogram limiting beliefs about money and success, and why beliefs you rarely question often dictate your income more than effort ever will. This is where mindset becomes rewiring rather than motivation. Every financial ceiling begins as a belief. Long before income plateaus or opportunities are missed, an internal rule is already operating quietly in the background. These rules sound like common sense. They feel realistic. They often go unquestioned. Yet they shape behavior more powerfully than effort, skill, or ambition ever could. Limiting beliefs are not loud. They're familiar. Most people do not consciously decide to limit themselves financially. They inherit beliefs through family culture, education, media, and early experiences. Over time, these beliefs harden into assumptions about what is possible, what is risky, what kind of success is realistic for someone like them. Beliefs become invisible once they feel normal. A common limiting belief is that money is scarce. This belief teaches the mind to protect rather than expand. When money feels scarce, decisions are driven by fear. Fear avoids risk, underprices value, and prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term growth. Even when opportunities appear, the mind hesitates because scarcity thinking exaggerates downside. Scarcity narrows possibility. Another powerful belief is that making money requires suffering. Many people associate income with exhaustion, sacrifice, and burnout. This belief leads them to trade time for money endlessly, even when higher leverage options exist. When money equals pain, growth feels threatening. Pain-based earning limits scale. Some people believe money changes people for the worse. This creates internal conflict. They may want more income, but fear becoming greedy, cold, or disconnected. This conflict sabotages progress. The mind will not pursue what it associates with moral loss. Internal conflict blocks success. Another limiting belief is, I am not good with money. This belief becomes self-fulfilling. People avoid learning budgeting, investing, or negotiation because they believe competence is out of reach. Avoidance preserves ignorance. Ignorance reinforces the belief. Belief becomes behavior. Many people also carry beliefs about who deserves money. They may believe only lucky people, only certain personalities, or only specific backgrounds succeed financially. This creates psychological distance between themselves and wealth. Distance creates disconnection. Limiting beliefs also show up around risk. Some people believe risk is reckless rather than necessary. They see any uncertainty as danger. This belief keeps them locked into safe, low-growth paths. Growth lives beyond certainty. Another belief is that success must be immediate or dramatic. When results are slow, people assume they are failing. This belief causes premature quitting. Wealth building often looks boring, repetitive, and gradual before it looks impressive. Impatience kills momentum. Reprogramming limiting beliefs begins with awareness. You cannot change a belief you have not identified. This requires honest reflection. Notice your emotional reactions to money conversations, decisions, and opportunities. Emotion reveals belief. Reaction reveals programming. Pay attention to your internal language. Statements like, I cannot afford this, People like me do not make that much money, or it is too risky often point to underlying beliefs rather than objective reality. Language exposes limits. Once a belief is identified, it must be questioned. Not argued with emotionally, but examined rationally. Ask, where did this belief come from? Is it based on direct experience or inherited opinion? Has it always been true? Does it serve my goals? Questioning weakens belief. Another powerful technique is finding counterexamples. For every limiting belief, there are people who disprove it. People from similar backgrounds who built wealth ethically, calmly, and sustainably. Their existence challenges the belief. Reality interrupts illusion. Reprogramming also requires placing beliefs, not just removing them. The mind resists empty space. You replace scarcity with sufficiency. Replace money equals suffering with money reflects value. Replace I am bad with money with I am learning to manage money. Replacement creates new defaults. Behavior must support belief change. Acting in ways that contradict old beliefs creates cognitive dissonance. This dissonance forces the mind to update. For example, charging higher prices, learning, investing, or saying no to undervaluing work. Action rewires belief. Repetition matters. Beliefs are neural patterns built through repetition. Changing them requires repeated exposure to new thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. One insight does not rewire years of conditioning. Consistency reshapes identity. Environment also plays a role. Surrounding yourself with people who think differently about money normalizes new beliefs. Exposure shifts perception of what is possible. Proximity changes mindset. Reprogramming beliefs also involves emotional regulation. Old beliefs trigger fear, shame, or guilt when challenged. Learning to stay calm while acting differently prevents retreat. Calm enables change. Another important step is separating self-worth from income. When money equals worth belief, change feels threatening. When worth is intrinsic, income becomes a skill rather than a judgment. Detachment creates freedom. Visualization can also help when used practically. Visualize yourself acting confidently, making decisions, learning skills, and handling money calmly. Focus on behavior, not fantasy outcomes. Behavior builds belief. Reprogramming also includes redefining success. Success becomes alignment, growth, and sustainability rather than comparison or status. This removes pressure and increases consistency. Alignment supports progress. Another key element is patience. Belief change lags behind behavior. You may act differently before you fully believe differently. This is normal. Trust the process. Belief follows action. Over time, new beliefs become familiar. What once felt risky feels normal. What once felt impossible feels expected. This is not magic. It's conditioning in a new direction. You do not become someone else. You uncover what was always possible, reprogramming limiting beliefs. About money is not about positive thinking. It is about accurate thinking. It replaces inherited fear with informed choice. Once beliefs shift, behavior follows. Once behavior changes, results compound. In the next part, you will learn how to train, focus, discipline, and delayed gratification, and why these mental skills matter more for making money than intelligence or talent ever will. This is where mindset turns into execution. Making more money is not primarily a problem of opportunity. It is a problem of focus. Most people have access to ways to increase income but lack the mental discipline to follow through long enough for results to compound. Focus, discipline, and delayed gratification are the mental skills that separate people who stay stuck from people who steadily increase their earning power. Focus is not about intensity. It is about consistency. In a world filled with distractions, notifications, urgency, and emotional noise, the ability to concentrate on high-value actions is rare. This rarity is exactly why it is valuable. Money flows toward those who can stay focused while others scatter their attention. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They respond to messages, switch tasks constantly, and chase small wins that feel urgent. This activity creates exhaustion without progress. Wealth building requires sustained attention on fewer, higher-impact actions. Attention is currency. Training focus begins with understanding how distraction works. Distraction is often emotional. People escape into distractions when tasks feel uncomfortable, boring, or uncertain. The brain seeks relief, not results. Without awareness, this loop repeats endlessly. Discipline interrupts escape. The first step in training focus is deciding what actually matters. Many people work hard on things that do not move income. Mentally strong earners identify leverage points. Skills, systems, relationships, and assets that scale value over time. Focus multiplies leverage. Once priorities are clear, focus requires protecting time. You cannot focus on important work if your schedule is constantly interrupted. This means setting boundaries with people, media, and habits. Saying no becomes a financial skill. Boundaries protect earning potential. Discipline also means working without waiting for motivation. Motivation is emotional and unreliable. Discipline is structural. You show up because you decided to, not because you feel inspired. Discipline creates momentum. Another critical aspect is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is the ability to tolerate short-term discomfort in exchange for long-term gain. Most people know what they should do, but choose what feels good now instead. Short-term comfort is expensive. Examples are endless. Spending instead of investing. Watching instead of learning. Avoiding difficult conversations instead of negotiating value. Each choice feels small but compounds over time. Delayed gratification compounds quietly. Training this skill begins with small wins. You practice delaying comfort in manageable ways. Finishing tasks before checking distractions, saving before spending, investing in skills before indulging in rewards. Small delays build tolerance. Another powerful method is connecting delayed gratification to identity. You stop seeing it as sacrifice and start seeing it as who you are. Someone who invests in the future. Someone who values long-term freedom over short-term relief. Identity sustains discipline. Focus also improves when you simplify your environment. Remove unnecessary apps, reduce notifications, organize workspace. Discipline is easier when friction is removed. Design supports behavior. Another key skill is single tasking. Multitasking feels productive, but reduces quality and speed. Single tasking allows deeper work, which creates more value in less time. Depth beats speed. Training focus also involves managing mental energy. Focus declines when sleep, nutrition, and movement are neglected. Mental discipline depends on physical care. Energy supports attention. Delayed gratification also means tolerating boredom. Many wealth-building activities are repetitive and unexciting. Before they pay off, mentally strong people do not require constant stimulation to stay engaged. Boredom is not failure. Another important practice is tracking progress. Seeing evidence of effort reinforces discipline. Even small, measurable progress strengthens focus. Evidence sustains belief. Focus also requires emotional regulation. Anxiety, frustration, and self-doubt pull attention away from tasks. Learning to stay calm during difficulty keeps focus intact. Calm preserves clarity. Another key principle is choosing long-term thinking. You ask, how will this decision affect me in 1 year, not 1 hour? This perspective reshapes daily choices. Long-term thinking creates wealth. Discipline also includes forgiveness. Everyone loses focus at times. Harsh self-judgment weakens discipline. Resetting quickly strengthens it. Reset is power. Another important insight is that focus is trainable. It improves with practice like a muscle. Each focus session builds capacity. Over time, distractions lose their pull. Practice rewires attention. Delayed gratification also grows through vision. When the future feels meaningful, present sacrifice feels worthwhile. Clear financial goals strengthen discipline. Purpose fuels patience. Training focused discipline and delayed gratification does not make life dull. It makes it intentional. You choose where energy goes instead of reacting. Intentional effort compounds. This is where many people fall behind. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they cannot stay focused long enough for results to appear. Those who can out-earn those who cannot. In the next part, you will learn how emotional control directly affects income decisions and why calm thinking under pressure is one of the most profitable skills you can develop. This is where psychology meets money in real time. Money decisions are rarely logical. They feel logical after the fact, but in the moment, they are driven by emotion far more than most people realize. Fear, excitement, stress, pride, and insecurity quietly shape financial behavior every day. This is why emotional control is one of the most profitable mental skills a person can develop. Income does not grow in emotionally reactive minds. When emotions run high, clarity drops. Under emotional pressure, people spend impulsively, avoid necessary risks, underprice their value, or make short-term decisions that feel relieving but create long-term loss. These patterns repeat not because people are careless, but because emotion hijacks decision-making. The brain under emotional stress prioritizes relief over strategy. Fear is one of the most expensive emotions in money-making. Fear avoids risk, even when the risk is calculated. It clings to certainty, even when certainty limits growth. Fear says stay where you are even when where you are is not working. Fear feels safe, but costs opportunity. Many people stay underpaid not because they lack skill, but because fear prevents negotiation. They accept less to avoid discomfort. Over time, this compounds into thousands of dollars lost simply because emotional discomfort felt intolerable. Emotional avoidance is costly. Anxiety also affects income by fragmenting focus. An anxious mind jumps between possibilities, overthinks outcomes, and struggles to execute consistently. This scattered attention reduces productivity and delays progress. Calm creates focus. Excitement can be just as dangerous. Excitement fuels impulsive decisions, chasing trends, shortcuts, or unrealistic opportunities. People overestimate upside and underestimate risk when emotionally charged. This leads to poor investments and unstable income streams. Emotional spikes distort judgment. Pride is another hidden financial blocker. Pride prevents asking for help, learning new skills, or admitting mistakes. It locks people into outdated strategies because changing feels like admitting failure. Pride protects ego, not income. Insecurity also shapes earning behavior. Insecure people undercharge over-deliver and hesitate to market themselves. They confuse humility with invisibility. Over time, this keeps them busy, but underpaid. Confidence is not arrogance. It is clarity of value. Emotional control allows you to separate feelings from facts. Numbers are data, not judgments. A rejection is information, not a verdict. A loss is feedback, not identity. This separation improves financial decision-making dramatically. Detachment improves accuracy. One of the most profitable aspects of emotional control is patience. Impulsive decisions often feel urgent. Calm decisions consider timing. Many financial losses come from acting too soon rather than waiting strategically. Timing matters more than speed. Emotional control also allows consistency. Income grows when actions are repeated steadily over time. Reactivity creates inconsistency. Calm creates rhythm. Rhythm compounds results. Another critical area is response to setbacks. Without emotional control, setbacks trigger panic or quitting. With control, setbacks trigger adjustment. Adjustment keeps momentum alive. Momentum builds income. Emotional control also improves negotiation. Calm negotiators listen, think clearly, and respond rather than react. Emotional negotiators give away leverage. Calmness communicates confidence without aggression. Calm increases perceived value. Stress also affects spending. Many people spend emotionally to cope with stress. This creates financial leaks that undermine progress. Emotional regulation reduces the need for financial soothing. Regulation saves money. Another area is decision fatigue. Emotional overload reduces cognitive capacity. This leads to default choices that are often poor. Emotional control preserves mental energy for high-impact decisions. Energy protects quality. Emotional control also improves long-term planning. Fear-based minds avoid thinking ahead because uncertainty feels threatening. Calm minds plan because uncertainty feels manageable. Planning increases stability. Another major benefit is resilience during volatility. Income growth often involves periods of instability. Emotional control allows you to tolerate fluctuations without abandoning strategy. Stability of mind sustains strategy. Emotional control also strengthens boundaries. Calm people say no without guilt. They protect time, energy, and pricing. Boundaries increase earning power. Boundaries signal value. One of the most overlooked benefits is reputation. People trust and respect those who remain composed under pressure. This trust creates opportunities, partnerships, and referrals that emotional reactivity destroys. Reputation compounds invisibly. Emotional control also improves learning speed. Reactivity blocks feedback. Calm curiosity absorbs it. Those who regulate emotion learn faster and adapt quicker. Learning accelerates income. Another powerful shift is reduced comparison. Emotional minds compare constantly and feel behind. Calm minds focus on progress. Comparison drains energy and distorts decisions. Focus restores direction. Emotional control also helps you delay gratification intelligently. You do not need immediate wins to stay engaged. You tolerate slow progress because you trust the process. Trust fuels persistence. Money-making is not a sprint. It is a series of decisions made under uncertainty over time. Emotional control improves the quality of those decisions consistently. Quality compounds outcomes. Training emotional control involves awareness, pause, and practice. You notice emotional reactions before acting. You pause long enough to choose response. You practice repeatedly until calm becomes default. Default behavior shapes destiny. As emotional control increases, money becomes less stressful. Decisions become clearer. Confidence grows quietly. You stop reacting to money and start directing it. This is when income becomes strategic rather than emotional. In the next part, you will learn how to think in terms of value creation rather than effort, and why people who focus on value consistently out-earn those who focus only on working harder. This is where mindset turns into leverage. Money grows where uncertainty is tolerated intelligently. This is one of the hardest truths for most people to accept. Everyone wants financial growth, but few are willing to face the mental discomfort that comes with uncertainty. Risk confidence and mental resilience are not optional traits in wealth creation. They are foundational. This does not mean reckless risk-taking. It means psychological readiness to act when outcomes are not guaranteed. Most people avoid risk because their mind associates uncertainty with danger. This association is emotional, not rational. The nervous system reacts to financial uncertainty the same way it reacts to physical threat. Heart rate increases, thinking narrows, and the urge to retreat intensifies. When this happens, people default to safety, even when safety limits growth. Avoiding risk feels responsible, but often guarantees stagnation. Risk confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move forward while fear is present. This ability separates people who grow wealth steadily from those who remain stuck in preparation mode. Forever, preparation without action becomes procrastination, one of the biggest mental blocks. Around risk is the fear of loss. Loss feels personal. It feels like failure. But in money-making, loss is information. Every financially successful person has lost money, time, or opportunities. The difference is how they interpret those losses. Resilient minds ask, "What did this teach me?" Fragile minds ask, "What does this say about me?" Mental resilience allows you to experience loss without collapsing emotionally. This resilience prevents overreaction, panic selling, impulsive quitting, or abandoning strategies prematurely. Calm minds make adjustments. Emotional minds abandon plans. Resilience protects strategy. Another critical element is understanding asymmetry. Many opportunities carry limited downside and large upside, but only if you can tolerate uncertainty. Fear exaggerates downside and ignores upside. Risk-confident minds evaluate both objectively. Objectivity requires emotional control. Risk confidence also grows from exposure. Avoiding risk keeps fear alive. Gradual exposure weakens fear. Taking small, calculated risks and surviving them builds evidence that uncertainty is manageable. Evidence builds confidence. Another important shift is separating self-worth from outcomes. When money decisions feel tied to identity, risk feels dangerous. When outcomes feel personal, loss feels devastating. Resilient people detach ego from results. They evaluate performance without self-judgment. Detachment increases clarity. Mental resilience also includes patience during volatility. Income growth is rarely smooth. There are plateaus, dips, and unpredictable phases. Many people quit during flat periods because they misinterpret slow progress as failure. Slow growth is still growth. Risk-confident people stay the course longer. They understand that volatility is part of expansion. Calm persistence outlasts. Emotional urgency. Time rewards endurance. Another key factor is emotional regulation during decision-making. Stress leads to impulsive choices. Calm leads to strategic ones. Resilient minds pause under pressure. They do not rush to feel better. They choose what is better. Pause preserves power. Risk confidence also improves opportunity recognition. Fearful minds see threats everywhere. Resilient minds see patterns and possibilities. This difference changes what opportunities you notice and pursue. Perception determines access. Another mental barrier is perfectionism. Many people wait until they feel fully ready before acting. This delays experience and keeps confidence low. Resilient people act with incomplete certainty and refine along the way. Action creates readiness. Risk confidence also requires long-term thinking. Short-term losses feel unbearable when the time horizon is narrow. Expanding the time horizon reduces emotional intensity and improves decision quality. Perspective stabilizes emotion. Another important aspect is emotional recovery. Even resilient people feel disappointment. The difference is recovery speed. How quickly you regain clarity after a setback determines momentum. Fast recovery sustains progress. Mental resilience also protects against social pressure. People fear judgment for taking risks that others do not understand. Resilient minds trust their own analysis rather than external approval. Approval does not create wealth. Risk confidence. It also involves understanding probability rather than certainty. No outcome is guaranteed, but probability improves with preparation, skill, and repetition. Wealth builders think in probabilities, not guarantees. Probability thinking reduces fear. Another powerful shift is learning to budget for risk emotionally and financially. You do not risk what you cannot afford to lose. This reduces panic and preserves resilience. Bounded risk supports calm. Mental resilience also. This means resisting emotional narratives. Media stories, personal anecdotes, and dramatic failures distort perception. Resilient minds rely on data patterns and personal experience rather than fear-driven stories. Noise distorts judgment. Another element is identity again. Seeing yourself as someone who can handle uncertainty changes how you respond to it. Identity shapes behavior automatically. Identity precedes confidence. Risk confidence also improves negotiation and opportunity creation. People who are comfortable with uncertainty ask for more, propose ideas, and step into leadership roles. Fearful minds wait to be invited. Initiative creates opportunity. Another overlooked aspect is energy management. Chronic stress reduces resilience. Sleep, movement, and recovery are not luxuries. They support the nervous system needed to tolerate uncertainty. Resilience is biological as well as mental. Risk confidence also requires ethical grounding. When values are clear, decisions feel less risky because alignment reduces inner conflict. Alignment stabilizes. Another key insight is that avoiding risk does not eliminate risk. It shifts it. Avoiding growth risks long-term instability. Staying stagnant risks obsolescence. Inaction has consequences. Resilient minds accept this trade-off. They choose calculated risk over guaranteed limitation. Risk confidence grows gradually. You do not leap into the unknown blindly. You expand comfort zones intentionally. Each step strengthens. Psychological tolerance. Tolerance becomes strength. Money making at higher levels is not about avoiding stress. It is about managing it skillfully. Those who can stay calm when outcomes are uncertain make better decisions consistently. Consistency compounds results. As risk confidence grows, money stops feeling terrifying. Decisions become clearer. You trust yourself to adjust if things change. Trust replaces fear. This is where many people stop. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack resilience. Those who continue build financial lives that are flexible, adaptable, and durable. In the final part, you will learn how to build a long-term wealth identity and why who you see yourself as determines how much money you will ever be able to keep and grow. This is where mindset becomes permanent rather than situational. Money comes and goes. Income rises and falls. Markets change. Opportunities appear and disappear. What determines whether wealth grows or disappears over time is not strategy alone. It is identity. Long-term financial success is not maintained by tactics. It is sustained by who you believe yourself to be. You will never consistently outperform your identity. Many people experience temporary financial success only to lose it later. This does not happen because they forgot how to earn. It happens because their internal identity never changed. Their behaviors eventually drift back to what feels familiar and safe. Identity always pulls behavior back to baseline. A wealth identity is not about seeing yourself as rich. It is about seeing yourself as someone who thinks, plans, decides, and behaves in ways that naturally produce financial stability and growth over time. It is a mindset that governs daily choices, especially when no one is watching. Long-term wealth is built in ordinary moments. People without a wealth identity may earn more money temporarily, but still think emotionally about spending, risk, and security. They react to income changes with panic or indulgence. They lack internal stability. Eventually, their behavior erodes progress. Stability must be internal before it becomes external. Building a long-term wealth identity begins with redefining your relationship with money. Money is no longer something that controls your emotions. It becomes a neutral tool. You stop using money to regulate feelings or self-worth. This emotional neutrality is foundational. Neutrality creates consistency. Wealth identity also includes delayed emotional gratification. You no longer need immediate financial reassurance. You trust long-term systems over short-term relief. This allows you to make decisions that benefit future you even when present you feels uncomfortable. Future thinking defines wealth. Another core aspect of wealth identity is responsibility. You see yourself as responsible for outcomes, even in imperfect systems. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means focusing on influence rather than excuses. Influence restores agency. People with a wealth identity also think in terms of ownership. Ownership of skills, time, decisions, and assets. They stop outsourcing responsibility for their financial life to employers, trends, or luck. They become stewards of their own economic reality. Stewardship builds durability. Another important element is emotional regulation as identity. You no longer see emotional control as something you try to do. It becomes who you are. Calm decision-making becomes default even under stress. Default behavior determines outcomes. Wealth identity also includes long-term orientation. You naturally think in years, not weeks. Short-term fluctuations do not destabilize you. You evaluate decisions based on trajectory rather than immediate comfort. Trajectory matters more than speed. People with a wealth identity also understand that wealth is built through compounding behaviors. Small, consistent actions repeated over time create massive results. This understanding reduces impatience and comparison. Compounding rewards. Patience. Another defining trait is value orientation. You identify as someone who creates value, not just consumes resources. This shapes learning choices, career moves, and business ideas. You ask, how can I increase usefulness, rather than how can I get more? Value creation attracts income. A wealth identity also includes boundaries. You do not rescue others financially at the cost of your own stability. You do not overextend to gain approval. You understand that saying no protects future generosity. Boundaries preserve capacity. Another key shift is separating self-worth from net worth. When worth is intrinsic, money decisions become clearer. You are not trying to prove yourself through spending, earning, or comparison. Security comes from self-trust, not numbers. People with a wealth identity also invest before they feel ready. They invest time, money, and energy into skills, systems, and relationships with long-term payoff. They do not wait for perfect certainty. Action precedes confidence. Another aspect is adaptability. Wealth identity is not rigid. You are willing to update beliefs, strategies, and skills as conditions change. Adaptability prevents stagnation. Flexibility sustains relevance. Wealth identity also includes patience with learning curves. You expect mistakes? You budget for learning. Failure does not threaten identity. It refines it. Learning is an investment, not a threat. Another critical element is consistency of behavior across income levels. People without a wealth identity behave responsibly only when money is tight or abundant, but not both. Wealth identity maintains consistent habits, regardless of income fluctuations. Consistency protects progress. Wealth identity also reshapes how you view consumption. Spending becomes intentional, not emotional. You evaluate purchases based on alignment rather than impulse. Intentional spending preserves freedom. Another defining trait is emotional maturity around comparison. You stop measuring progress against others. You measure alignment with goals, values, and systems. Comparison drains focus. People with a wealth identity also see money as something to manage, not chase. Chasing creates anxiety. Managing creates control. Control reduces stress. Another powerful shift is planning for longevity. Wealth identity thinks about sustainability. Burnout is not admired. Sustainable systems are. Longevity outperforms intensity. Wealth identity also includes humility. You accept that no strategy is perfect. You stay open to feedback. You learn continuously. Humility supports growth. Another element is resilience during downturns. Wealth identity expects downturns. You plan for them emotionally and financially. When they arrive, you adjust rather than panic. Preparation reduces fear. People with a wealth identity will also understand opportunity costs deeply. Every yes is a no to something else. This awareness sharpens decision-making. Discernment protects time. Another important aspect is emotional independence. Your mood does not rise and fall with account balances. Emotional independence allows strategic thinking. Detachment increases clarity. Wealth identity also includes contribution. You see wealth as something that allows impact, service, and choice, not just accumulation. This broader purpose sustains motivation over decades. Purpose sustains effort. Another key trait is trust in process. You trust systems, habits, and long-term strategies more than short-term feelings. This trust keeps you consistent when motivation fades. Systems outperform emotion. Wealth identity also reframes setbacks. Setbacks are not personal failures. They are part of the process. This reframing preserves confidence and momentum. Momentum builds resilience. Another aspect is decisiveness. You make decisions with incomplete information and adjust rather than waiting indefinitely. Decisiveness reduces anxiety. Action creates clarity. Wealth identity also involves emotional discipline around information. You limit exposure to fear-driven narratives. You seek data, not drama. Noise disrupts judgment. Another powerful shift is living below perceived capacity. Many people increase lifestyle as income increases. Wealth identity prioritizes flexibility, freedom, and margin. Margin creates security. Wealth identity also includes long-term relationships. You invest in trust, reputation, and collaboration. These intangible assets compound over time. Relationships create opportunity. Another element is self-accountability. You track progress honestly. You review decisions without self-attack. Accountability maintains alignment. Alignment sustains growth. Building a wealth identity is not about becoming obsessed with money. It is about becoming stable, calm, and intentional in how you relate to it. This identity makes wealth a natural outcome rather than a constant struggle. Money becomes a result, not a pursuit. Over time, this identity becomes automatic. You no longer force discipline. You no longer negotiate with impulses. Your behavior aligns with long-term prosperity by default. This is the difference between people who build wealth once and those who keep it for life. In the final part, you will learn how to become financially calm, strategic, and unshakable. And why emotional? Stability around money is the ultimate indicator of true wealth. This is where everything comes together. There is a version of success that looks impressive on the outside but feels chaotic on the inside. Money comes in, but stress never leaves. Income increases, but peace does not. Decisions feel urgent. Fear still drives behavior. This is not true financial mastery. True wealth is not loud. It is calm. Financial calm is the final stage of training your mind to make more money. Being financially unshakable does not mean nothing ever goes wrong. It means that when things do go wrong, your mind does not collapse. You do not panic. You do not make impulsive decisions. You do not abandon long-term strategy for short-term relief. Calm becomes your default state even under pressure. Calm is the real indicator of wealth. Most people believe more money will make them calmer. In reality, calm thinking is what allows people to make more money and keep it. Without calm emotional regulation, money amplifies stress rather than reducing it. Money magnifies mindset. Financial calm begins with emotional detachment from outcomes. This does not mean indifference. It means you care without being controlled. Wins do not inflate ego. Losses do not destroy confidence. You evaluate outcomes without merging them with identity. Detachment creates clarity. Unshakable people treat money as information. Numbers tell a story. They are signals, not judgments. A down month is data. A failed investment is feedback. A missed opportunity is insight. Emotional people dramatize numbers. Strategic people analyze them. Analysis replaces anxiety. Another core trait of financial calm is pacing. Calm people do not rush decisions because they feel pressure. They understand that urgency is often emotional, not real. They slow down when others speed up. Slowness under pressure is strength. Financial calm also comes from preparation. You plan for volatility. You expect fluctuations. You build buffers. Emergency funds, diversified income, and margin reduce emotional intensity. Preparation buys peace. Unshakable individuals also have clear criteria for decisions. They do not decide based on mood. They decide based on principles. This reduces decision fatigue and emotional swings. Principles stabilize behavior. Another defining quality is emotional neutrality around comparison. Calm people do not measure success by others' outcomes. They track progress against their own system's goals and timelines. Comparison dissolves peace. Financial calm also requires boundaries. You do not feel obligated to explain, justify, or defend your financial choices. You say no without guilt. You protect time, energy, and capital. Boundaries protect stability. Another critical element is acceptance of uncertainty. Calm minds do not need guarantees to move forward. They accept that uncertainty is part of all growth. This acceptance prevents anxiety spirals. Acceptance neutralizes fear. Unshakable people also separate planning from worrying. Planning is constructive. Worrying is emotional rehearsal without action. Calm minds plan, then act. Action dissolves rumination. Financial calm also includes self-trust. You trust your ability to adjust, recover, and learn. This trust reduces fear of mistakes. When mistakes happen, you respond instead of reacting. Self-trust replaces panic. Another important aspect is emotional independence. Your mood does not fluctuate with market movements, account balances, or opinions. Emotional independence allows objective decision-making. Independence creates resilience. Calm financial thinkers also understand opportunity costs deeply. They know that saying yes too often creates chaos. They choose carefully. Fewer better decisions create better outcomes. Selectivity increases value. Another defining trait is patience. Calm people do not chase trends or quick wins. They allow systems to compound. They trust time more than hype. Time rewards patience. Financial calm also improves negotiation. Calm negotiators listen more, talk less, and think clearly. They do not give away leverage to relieve discomfort. Calm is leverage. Another important shift is reduced emotional spending. Calm people do not use money to regulate mood. They spend intentionally. This preserves capital and reduces regret. Intentional spending increases control. Unshakable people also have emotional resilience during downturns. When income dips or plans change, they do not catastrophize. They adjust strategically. Adjustment sustains momentum. Financial calm also comes from clarity of enough. Knowing what enough looks like reduces endless chasing. Chasing without an endpoint creates perpetual stress. Enough creates freedom. Another powerful aspect is long-term vision. Calm people anchor decisions to vision rather than noise. Short-term fluctuations lose power when vision is clear. Vision stabilizes focus. Unshakable people also limit exposure to emotional noise. They avoid fear-driven media and advice. They choose information carefully. Information diet affects mindset. Another key trait is humility. Calm minds know they do not know everything. They stay open to learning. Ego-driven certainty creates fragility. Humility strengthens adaptability. Financial calm also includes gratitude without complacency. You appreciate progress without stopping growth. This balance prevents both anxiety and stagnation. Balance sustains progress. Unshakable people also integrate money into life rather than centering life around money. Money supports values, relationships, health, and purpose, not the other way around. Integration creates meaning. Another defining quality is integrity. Calm people do not sacrifice values for money. Integrity prevents internal conflict, which is a major source of stress. Alignment creates peace. Financial calm also improves leadership. People trust those who remain steady under pressure. This trust creates opportunities, partnerships, and influence. Steadiness attracts opportunity. Another important element is forgiveness. You forgive past financial mistakes. Carrying regret drains energy. Forgiveness allows forward focus. Release restores momentum. Unshakable individuals also revisit systems regularly. Calm review prevents crisis response. Maintenance replaces emergency. Maintenance preserves stability. Financial calm is not flashy. It is quiet, confident, and consistent. You stop reacting to money. You start directing it. Direction replaces struggle. When your mind is trained this way, money stops being the central source of stress in your life. Decisions feel clearer. Sleep improves. Relationships stabilize. Confidence becomes internal. This is real wealth. You are no longer chasing money. You are managing value. You are no longer afraid of loss. You are prepared for change. You are no longer emotionally tied to outcomes. You are strategically engaged with them. This is what it means to train your mind to make more money, not through tricks or shortcuts, but through clarity, discipline, resilience, and calm. When the mind becomes unshakable, money follows naturally. And when money follows calm, it stays.